folks may not be familiar with who you are. So if you can just give a quick synopsis of who is CG Walwin.
Well, my name is Dr. Selvin G. Walwin, known as CG Walwin. I am a native of St. Kitts and Nevis, having been born on Birch Street in Bastia, St. Kitts. However, I was raised in the United States Virgin Islands, specifically St. Croix. And then as a young man, I moved to Houston, Texas. And so I live today in Houston, Texas, and I retired here in Florida. So I live in Houston, Texas, and Florida. And I was also the police commissioner in St. Kitts and Nevis. I was also the deputy police commissioner in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I retired as a police officer here and in Texas.
Okay, great. Brother Walwin, I was just about to say that you were the former police commissioner under the past Labor administration, and during the change of 2015. You has been out of the Federation since then. So give the people a little update. What has CG been doing in the last 7-8 years?
Well, when I left St. Kitts, I returned to Orlando, and I worked here for a law firm. I was the lead investigator for a law firm here. And then I was recalled to the United States Virgin Islands as the commissioner of police. Well, as commissioner, but I chose deputy commissioner. And then I came back home last year to Orlando, and we began a business in Texas where we do private investigations. My wife runs the company or owns the company. I'm just her advisor. And we handle cases in Texas, specifically capital murder cases. We specialize in capital murders. But this time, instead of working for the police, I work for the defense.
Okay. I know it's customary for law enforcement to be a 3 or 5 year plan to get things going. You was in St. Kitts, Nevis under the Labor administration, and the former administration came in 2015. Did you have any such plan that you will be out of St. Kitts once the government change?
Well, that's a very good question. Being a police officer, having been a chief of police before in Texas during the early 1990s, I had to have a plan of action when I got there. And when I left, I had to have a plan of action for the incoming chief. So St. Kitts was no different. Matter of fact, before I even came to St. Kitts, I had already followed the headlines. I would read the newspapers. I would watch stuff on the internet. And I had created an outline, not only for while I was there, but for when I left. And so I did leave a plan. It was a 5-year plan that I personally gave to the last prime minister and told them if they followed that plan, the trend that we had in St. Kitts with the decline of crime would continue. And I gave it to him. He also hired, well, let me rephrase that. Some specialists were also called in from England, and those specialists contacted me. And I also gave them that plan, along with a copy of a book that I had written that was used in Texas in the police academies. I gave those guys from England that book also. So yes, to answer your question, I not only had a plan, I also left a plan.
Okay, if you can speak on it, because I know you guys, some of you are sworn to secrecy, and I do not know if you can speak on it. But if you can, what are some of the changes you had implemented, and what are some that might be still in effect if they are using them, even though you're not with the force any longer?
Well, one of the things that we tried to change in St. Kitts and Nevis and to bring them into the 21st century was there is a practice of police closing the stations at night at 9 o'clock or at 10 o'clock. They would close the station down at night, and the officer would go upstairs, and if someone calls, he comes downstairs and he opens the door and he takes the report. And the first thing I did was I put a stop to that. I myself personally, along with the officers, we started patrolling St. Kitts at night, because one night I was in Nevis, and one of the special patrols went home. And I asked them, who's patrolling? And they said, oh, these guys are patrolling. I said, no, those guys went home. So you need to be on the street. So we appointed an inspector, a female inspector, to supervise the night shifts in St. Kitts and in Nevis. And so we made sure that the police station was open 24 hours. And we made sure that the police were on the street 24 hours, because when the police go to sleep at 10 o'clock, the bad guys came out and started doing their work. And so by having the police on the street 24/7, we ensured that the crime was declining in the Federation.
Yeah. I'm glad you speak about having the police on the street 24/7, because some folks seem to have a problem with police army when they're around. But like I always say, whenever I see police officer around or the army, I sleep comfortable because I know the bad boy is going to chill out. But once they have to have a green light, they will do their thing. So I'm happy that you said that. I am reading something here, and I also remember an article that was in the Observer. I think it was back in 2013. That was written by a former Minister of National Security, stated that the then Labour government gave more access to funds to improve services than any other commissioner. Was that true?
No, that is not true. I saw that article. As a matter of fact, I brought it to the attention of the Observer back then, and they should have taken that article down, but it's still circling the internet. And I'm going to answer your question, but I want to say something. Sometimes the little things that we post online, they can create a problem for people away from St. Kitts. And I've had two instances where this happened. I can tell you the first time, I'm not going to call the governor's name, but in one of our southern states, I'm not going to call the name, I was selected down to two people to become the colonel in charge of the highway patrol for that whole state. Two people. Eventually, they gave the job to a guy that was there 12 years, which is what I would have done. But the fact that I got a phone call from the governor's office telling me to stay off of Facebook, and I wasn't on Facebook. People in St. Kitts were posting stupidness back then, and it got to the governor's office. The next time I was in Houston. As you know, I grew up in Houston. I still have a residence in Houston. And I went for a job with the Attorney General's office, the DA's office, sorry. And during my interview, the guy pulled out a newspaper article from the Observer, and he said, "Can you explain this?" And what it was, when Tuba, if you remember Tuba had got shot or got killed in Newtown, and I responded there, and I responded with my gun. I'm an American police officer. You know, if you have a gun incident, you come with a gun. You know, I arrived on the scene with the SSU, and I was making people get off the crime scene. You're contaminating the crime scene. And this lady got upset, and they wrote that in the paper, and that ended up in Houston. So sometimes when we write certain things or say certain things, it doesn't just affect us in St. Kitts. It can affect you elsewhere. Fortunately for me, that never involved it never interrupted anything for me, because when I explained to the guy, he said, "This is BS." Those are his words, and he actually threw it in the trash. Okay, now to answer your question, did the Labour government give me any special funding to help reduce crime? I was in St. Kitts from 2011 till 2015. In the very first year that I was there, we had 36 homicides, and I've heard people say that I fudge figures and whatever. All they have to do is to go and ask. Sorry, there's a Freedom of Information Act in St. Kitts, I believe. They can ask for the police stats for that whole period of time. But that first year, we went from 36 murders to 18 because we had high visibility. In the very first month that we were there, we trained five police officers. That's 20 police officers. Because we had 4 squads, and we trained 5 soldiers. The reason why we did this, because prior to my coming to St. Kitts, I was on a phone call with, and I'm gonna call his name, Colonel Wallace, and someone had went to the military to report an incident because they had no confidence in the police. So they had more confidence in the military than they did in the police. And so I decided to create a special squad, similar to what we had here in Florida. And we trained some soldiers with the police. I did not change the police uniform. I had the same color uniform that everybody wears. And we sent them out in the street so that nobody will know who was police and who was the Delta squad. And that worked in the first month. And so we continued the training. I went to a local business and I spoke with, and I'm gonna call his name because people need to be given the accolades when they do good. Mr. Michael Morton. He gave Delta a vehicle because we were patrolling high visibility in the country, in the high crime areas. And he has a business, and it's good for business when you have police presence. So we got a free van from TDC. Over in the Marriott, we got a free vehicle because I was able to show the businessmen in the area that we can patrol the peninsula and stop the crime from coming through those areas by having a presence, but I need to have a vehicle. And they gave me a free vehicle. Then while I was christening the vehicle, a lawyer from Michigan walked up to me and said, I heard what you said. If you're serious and you need some help, I own a motorcycle factory in China. I will give you as many motorcycles as you want. And so he gave us 18 motorcycles for free. And then as a police instructor in Texas and as a police instructor in Florida, and of course, you know, I'm also a college professor, I reached back to my agency, Orange County here in Orlando and Harris County in Houston, and I was able to form sister agency partnerships with them. And they would send officers, instructors to come to St. Kitts to train our officers for free. Then, and this is stuff that people don't know, but during President Obama, we had something called the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. And they would give monies, $50,000 a year, to the local police departments in the Caribbean to help them better themselves. And so when I approached being an American police officer and knowing how it works, I approached these guys and I got a free pickup truck from the DEA. I got equipment from the DEA to better improve St. Kitts. Then we had a problem with police putting their hands on people. And so to address this concern, we created an internal affairs division. And I went to the US again, and they provided the training, not only in St. Kitts, also in the US Virgin Islands. And that's how we established one of the first internal affairs units in the Eastern Caribbean. So those are some of the things that we did, not because labor gave me money, but because I went out and I asked. I also would attend, and I'm going to finish in a minute, I also attend the Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police Conference, which I will be attending this year. I also attend the International Association of Chiefs of Police, which I'm a member. I also attend the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, of which I'm also a member. And when I go to these conferences, I go specifically to the manufacturers of public safety equipment. And I said, hey, I'm a small island. I can't afford to buy it. How about doing a beta test on my island with my officers. And that's how we got so much equipment, not because labor gave me the money, but because I was able to speak. Even as far as Costa Rica, we had Costa Rica willing. I'm not going to mention the amount, but even Mexico, we got a police station down there in, I think it's Old Road, just built. And Mexico gave us the money to build that. Because when the guy came and looked at the Tabernacle Station, he saw what we had in the Tabernacle Station, how we were doing it. He was the ambassador. He says, I'm very impressed with how y'all use the money. I'm willing to make another donation. And that was it. But it was not because labor was giving me money, it's because we were going out there and begging for stuff to help improve the St. Kitts Nevis police force.
I'm glad that you went into detail with that particular scenario, because we seem to have a problem in our little federation there where people see things happening and they think it happened on its own. They don't understand the work and dedication that you have to put in. You spoke about Texas earlier. I do not know if you can recall, the first time that I met you in person is in Texas when I bought the Grandmasters band, Matt's Too Hard, and a couple of the other Calypsonians across there in 1992.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, Big Lice was there going to university.
Yes.
And
yes, he was.
Yep, Monarch was my point of contact, and his sister Cheryl that made that happen there. So it was good seeing you. And you spoke about, I asked you about the newspaper article, and you spoke about what social media does. You know, I receive some stuff in my phone. Regular, I receive all kind of stuff, but when I receive things that is disturbing to anyone, it doesn't matter what party or what gender, I would reach out privately and speak to the person and to find out, you know, what is happening, why is this taking place, what can we do to avoid this kind of stuff? Because once you hit social media, it's gone. You're not bringing it back, you know? And the response I got from the person, I'll be honest with you, was disappointing, but I also could understand that for whatever reason, I heard people say that the silly season is during the election time in St. Kitts Nevis, but it appears as though the silly season is all year round, because the way that these folks respond to each other because of politics or otherwise, families have death in their family, and you will find folks reach out a hand and it becomes disrespectful and fighting and whatever. Somebody reach out their hand to help. It should be thank you, not maligning that person and dirtying that person's name on social media and this kind of stuff. And I could say this because I've been through some of that. I have been asked to help, and during the time of helping, I get my backside curse out, you know. So it's amazing how we function there in St. Kitts Nevis. But I want to
say something before you go. Before you leave that area, you mentioned the person that wrote the article in the newspaper. That person had a plan to help reduce crime in the Federation. And I should have a copy of it somewhere here. But that person had a very good plan. But when you look at it, when you look at the plan, I believe the reason why it was not implemented is because people were afraid to touch other people's relatives. Okay. And so they were afraid to put it into place. But he did, and I'm gonna give him credit. He did have a very good plan. And like I said, if I search, I can find it. But his plan to reduce the crime in St. Kitts, if that was implemented effectively when it was put out, there would have been no need for me to come to St. Kitts, you know? So I got to give him credit on that. But on the other stuff, he was wrong.
With the situation with you coming to St. Kitts, and again, I don't understand why, because we travel out of the Federation for better life or better opportunities. And governments after governments would say, bring your experience back home, bring your talent back home to help us out. But when we come back, we are either rejected or treated like foreigners. You went through it, I'm going through it. It's like, no matter whatever good advice you're given, you're speaking foreign. And they continue to make the same mistake over and
Yes.
over again. You've been a former commissioner in St. Kitts Nevis. Is there any more you can elaborate on that area so that we could try and sensitize the folks back home about trying to curb the crime and do a better job at getting along?
Well, I believe that the police right now, they are doing all that they know. But it's going to take the leadership, whomever they are, it's going to take the leadership to make the officers feel that they have a part in crime reduction. The one thing that I did when I was there is that I would meet with the officers and the ones on the street specifically, because it's not the inspectors and the superintendents who are running the police force. It's the guys on the street, the guys and girls on the street, the men and women on the streets. So they're the ones that are making it safe for us. So if you don't make them feel good, you can hang it up. They can all call in sick tonight, and you only have one inspector. He can't patrol the whole of St. Kitts. So you have to give them a reason for wanting to come to work. And that is what I did with my officers. The complaints you're going to hear about me in St. Kitts in the police department is not coming from the men and women on the street. It's coming from those in the gazetted areas, because I held people's feet to the fire. I made people do their job. When you were right, you were right. When you were wrong, you were wrong. Like, for instance, when I came to St. Kitts, I had a bad guy asked to meet with me. And he told me, he said, "Commissioner, you just come here and they're going to try to pull the wool over your eyes. But I'm going to tell you straight up. A certain police station, when drug squad is going to make the raid, a person who has authority in that area calls us and tell us that the police come in." So when you heard my name being mentioned, that I was changing up things and moving people around, I was doing this based on intel that I was getting from the street, that I was actually going out and verifying that this was happening. And so a lot of times I can't come out. Like you said, you're sworn to secrecy. And by the way, they didn't swear me to secrecy. I volunteered to be sworn to secrecy in St. Kitts. I signed the document on my own. I even took a polygraph for the U.S. government from Barbados. When they put all my officers through, I volunteered and went through the polygraph, because I wanted people to understand that when I say something, I mean what I say. And so we had intel from the streets. We had the first undercover Rastaman cop in St. Kitts when I was there. Okay? I took one of my intel guys and I let him grow dreadlocks, and he infiltrated one of the gangs. And so we had intel, real live intel. There's so much things that we did in St. Kitts that helped to improve the life. By the end of the time we were there, we had a 29.45% drop in crime in St. Kitts. CARICOM, and much folks don't know this, CARICOM hired me at the end of my contract to go and be the security manager for CARICOM. I met with the original lady for CARICOM, and I met with the guy in charge of CARICOM when I was in Barbados. And I told him I will accept the job. But then we had a program in St. Kitts called Magic, and we can discuss that later. And when I saw the benefits that this program was producing in St. Kitts, I contacted CARICOM and told them I changed my mind. I'm going to renew my contract in St. Kitts. And that's what I did. And one last thing before I go. You asked me about challenges. When I was in St. Kitts, we had a shootout on Prickle Pear Alley. And young man got hit. He didn't die. Put him in the hospital. And the next day, we are sitting there, and another person comes to the emergency room who was shot. And what we figured out, and I'm not going to go into details, what we figured out is that people could come to the hospital and put their hand to the window and shoot people in the bed. And so, because I was a cop in Houston and I worked transportation, I worked for the sheriff office, I was a cop, but sometimes you have to take prisoners to the hospital. We had a room that was inside a room. In other words, when we take a guy from the jail to the hospital, just so he doesn't mix with people or run away from people, run away from the officers, there was a room you went into, then you had to go into another room. I built that room within a room in St. Kitts for the purpose of when we have young men who were shot but lived, instead of exposing them to getting shot through the window, we put them in that room in the hospital. And I know that room is still there today. That's one of the things that we did that's still there.
Well, I know you did some great things there because, like I said, after meeting you in Houston and then you came down to St. Kitts. During that period, I remember my team with our biannual tour with the Police Sports Club. I remember we came to St. Kitts to play some domino cricket hosted by the Police Sports Club. And we actually met you at your office. And I don't know if you still have the shirt or you gave it away, but I know we presented you with one of our uniform shirt. Commissioner Walwin, I normally attend events over at the police training school because I have a very good relationship with the police department there through many officers, too much to mention, but I can say Commissioner Foy, Commissioner Austin Williams, Commissioner Queeley, Officer Pillar, Officer Pemberton, Isaac, Francis, Hendrickson, Dams. You could go on and on and on. The entire police force, and Kishma, Morton Day, St. Paul's, Donnelly, Shiverton. So we had a very good thing going. And upon one of my visits at an event over at the police training school, we had a domino tournament play there. And I realized that there was some construction of a new building going on there at the police training school. Could you tell the folks how that came about?
Well, that building that you see there was a gift. Again, Labor didn't give me money to build anything. That was a gift. The Prime Minister at the time, Dr. Douglas, had introduced me to a guy named Vic Dezen, I believe is his name. I believe he was the owner of Marriott, but he was affiliated with Marriott. And Marriott had given, there's a young lady, an inspector, Rosemary Isles. They had given us some items to help beautify the old barracks that the officers sleep in and that they have training in. And so I went to Mr. Dezen and I told him I had received a call from Anguilla, the police commissioner in Anguilla, because he had noticed the amount of training that St. Kitts and Nevis was having, because we never closed the academy door in St. Kitts. From one day to the next, we had training. We made sure that we had something every day at the police academy in St. Kitts. We even had officers from Barbados come down to St. Kitts to train. But anyway, Anguilla called. It says, Commissioner, we recognize that St. Kitts is about to have another police class. We have noticed that the training in St. Kitts has improved, and we would like to know, can you or will you accept 9 females to come to the academy in St. Kitts? We don't have an academy for another year or so. Since you're having an academy, would you permit us to send 9 of your students to St. Kitts to go to the academy? The problem is at the time is that St. Kitts Academy could not hold those 9 women. So I went to Mr. Dezen and I said, this is what my vision is for the police force in St. Kitts and Nevis. This is what my vision is for public safety within the Federation. And I would like to know, would you kindly donate a building to us? He says, I will send my men over. So the building that you saw, the construction that you saw, was to be for female recruits. He even put flat screen TVs in there, in those bedrooms. We added a little extra to it, and we had the tailor shop put over there. But that particular building was to be used for female recruits, separate them from the men, put them over here. Unfortunately, when I left, it was never used for that purpose. I have not been to St. Kitts, so I cannot tell you what it's used for. But I know that the original intent, it was never used for that.
You know, it's really amazing how in the last 7 years under the former administration, how things went south. And when you try to speak about it, you are an enemy of the state. I'm going to ask you a question here. You don't have to answer it if you think it's too sensitive, but it's a question that must be asked, you know.
Okay.
I would like to know, what is the story about promoting people that were not qualified?
I laugh because I've heard that lie told so many times. Let me give you a little history first. When I came to St. Kitts and Nevis, I had a bunch of what they call acting gazetted officers. Gazetted officers are the ones in khaki. And the commissioner before me did not see it fit to make these guys permanent in their positions. The commissioner before him didn't see it fit to put those guys permanent in their positions. But with Dr. Douglas and our conversation, we were trying to move the police department forward to where I will no longer have to be in St. Kitts, that the police department can be run by Kittitians, because we have some very skilled people there. And so I looked through all of the people in the gazetted ranks, saw what they were doing, and I made recommendations, and I have this in writing to this day. I made recommendations to the permanent secretary in the Ministry of National Security and to the Prime Minister and to the Police Service Commission. I went through the ranks and I did the paperwork, which we still have and they should have on their file, to ensure that the right people, for instance, I'll give you a name. Everyone knows Assistant Commissioner Quealy. He has done a lot for the country, for the police force, but he was still acting. We had Brandy, Commissioner Brandy. He was a acting superintendent, something to that effect. And there's quite a few more people who are acting. And so we chose to make them permanent in their roles. Then we had to promote some sergeants to inspectors and some inspectors to superintendents. And everybody went through an interview. And everybody was promoted the same way, the same letter, the same process. But there was one young lady who came in the top 2 in the interviews, that's documented, was promoted. And for some reason, some of the men, because the fight was not from women, some of the men didn't like it. And so they started propaganda campaign against the young lady. And this went on for over 7 years. So much so that they tried to convince the Police Service Commission that I was doing things backwards. When you look at the document where everybody else was promoted, including 3 guys got promoted after that. But they didn't demote those 3 guys, and they didn't demote any of the other guys. Quealy, Brandy, all the other ones never got demoted. But they singled out that one woman because they could not tell her what to do, because she was supporting what I was doing. That was the whole thing. She supported me. She made sure that I followed the book, that I did things the right way. They were hoping that I would make mistakes, and she was making sure that I did not. And for this reason, the day, 2 hours before she got married, one of them took a letter to the place where she was staying to get married, telling her she was demoted. Now, on the Denzel Douglas, I'm telling you, that's the nastiness you had in the police department. And they didn't like me because I didn't play with them. That was it. But under Denzel Douglas, the Federation made 50 years as a police department. And they had never had a woman in the rank of superintendent. And so we promoted one female, and then we promoted the second female. The second female was this young lady. They kept the other lady, and they demoted this young lady. St. Kitts had never had more than one inspector at a time. During my time, we had 3 inspectors at once. St. Kitts had never had women in top leadership roles. We had women in charge of the Special Victims Unit, women in charge of the SSU. We had women in charge of the Delta Squad, because we have to become diverse and inclusive. We have daughters, and we were setting the wrong example for our women, children in the Federation. And so I did all this to try to elevate women in the police force, and they turned around and they attacked that woman. And up to this day, she still hasn't gotten her rank back when she did nothing wrong. She was the highest, second highest in the interview. She is highly qualified because she went to train in Canada. She trained in the Virgin Islands for the internal affairs. She came back, and the U.S. government used her to lead the class. And to this day, even with all that knowledge out there, they still have not given her her rank back. So it's victimization in the highest degree. There's no excuse why she lost her rank. There's no excuse why the previous government did not give her her rank back. And there is no excuse why she has not, to this day, been given her rank. There is nothing on paper to show that I did anything wrong. There's nothing on paper to show that she did anything wrong. This was a decision made in the last government with bad information, and it is still standing. Someone needs to fix this, and they need to fix it now.
Commissioner Walwin, I am happy that you spoke on that particular subject. I'm quite familiar with the officer that you're speaking about. That officer came here to New York on a visit. They normally have a group of folks that pass out together as police officers. They travel during their anniversary annually together as a team. And I had the luxury of hosting them here. And I remember how highly the other officers spoke of her, and her being coming first in everything that she did in terms of theory in class. And I'm going to take up that topic myself. I am going to ask that question.
It needs to be done. It needs to be done. This is wrong, Morrishaw. It's been over 7 years since we had the government to change. And it's been, what, almost 8 months since we've been here, maybe?
8 months, 8 months.
Okay.
And you know something?
And to this day, she has not been given her rank back, and she did nothing wrong. It was done by some malicious people. You know, they did it out of spite. They tried to lie. They need to go back and look at all the documentation and see that everything was done properly by the book. And if I was promoting somebody wrong, then the 3 men I promoted after her should have also been demoted. They never were. Everybody from Queely down should have been demoted. They never were. So why you gonna pick on one person?
You know, the funny thing, that topic came up during the first, well, it might not have been the first meeting, but I remember there was a meeting with the Prime Minister and the police force, and the PS at the time, what's his name was again? The PS for National Security, he's no longer there.
Mr. Petty.
Mr. Petty. When the Prime Minister asked him the question about why folks were denied the opportunity for promotions and stuff like that, and he explained that there was no policy in place for these things, but it's what the farmer had decide who will get position and who will not. But this particular officer, the Prime Minister is currently the Minister of National Security. And at the earliest opportunity I get to speak with him, I will definitely ask that question, because that officer, qualification-wise and her ability, is no question that she deserves that promotion.
Correct.
I do not know the
That's
rest of
correct.
them as good as her. But unless, like you said, unless they can find any documentation to show that her promotion was inconsistent with the laws, she deserves to get her position back. So I will definitely look into that.
And for the record, this prime minister is a very good prime minister. He has my support 100%. I'm in his corner, but it's the people that he has working for him. They're the ones that he has to be careful with, because they're the ones that's going to find every reason for not doing the right thing. And sometimes you have to do the right thing. George Bush made a statement one time that I live by. Sometimes you have to do the right thing, even if it's not popular. And this is one of those right now. There's no reason not to give her her rank back. None. And so this should be remedied as quickly as possible. But we will see. If it's politics, and we all know how politics work, but she should not have to suffer because of politics. She's suffered enough. Let me tell you one thing before we close that. We had a situation in Nevis where we had a building burn. And I had politicians climbed all over me because I made a comment. And my comment was based on fact. We had a witness who saw that building burning, but they saw the fire started on the light pole, and then he went to the building. And there was evidence to show. They had some guy, a fire guy from Canada that they brought in. I've never been a firefighter, but I've been a claims investigator. Matter of fact, I am licensed now in Florida as an insurance adjuster, independent insurance adjuster. So I know what I'm talking about. When you look at the stuff started from the light pole and they burned the building, all right? When I opened my mouth and said what I had to say with regard to this, and it's all over the internet right now, these politicians jumped all over me because I dare come out and say the truth, even though it was not the truth coming from the people who were speaking. We had a second incident. The former deputy premier of Nevis, his car burned on his property. And I got a phone call from someone say, hey, this guy here could be a suspect for burning that car because he's anti this guy. And all of a sudden he has a whole lot of money. I don't go by hearsay. I got on the phone. I called my contacts at ATF. They just happened to be in a conference. I called Miami. The guy told me, says, CG, get a ladder, go on top of the ladder, take a camera and take a picture from the ear looking down at the car. I did as he said, sent the picture off to him, and he called me back an hour later. He said, CG, we are all sitting here at the conference, and we are looking at the pictures, and we have come to a conclusion. That was not awesome. No one set the deputy premier's car on fire. That was a defect in the engine. If you look at the way the paint is burned from the center outward, it means that the fire started under the hood. It just so happens, CG, that we found out today that this particular brand of car has a leak in the fuel tank. And when the car is turned off, the gas drops on the engine. The part from the fuel tank goes up to the engine where it connects into the engine. That part leaks. And so when the car is turned off with the heat, that's what causes the fire. That's what the fire was caused by. It was not awesome. So sometimes people want things to be certain things. And when you open your mouth and you try to correct what they are not thinking or what they are hoping it would be, then they go against you. And that happened again right there on Baker's Corner when that building burned. It just so happened it was one of their supporters that saw the fire on the light pole burning, and they went and they burned the building. And when I said that it was not awesome because I have an eyewitness, a police officer, a high-ranking police officer who was at the station and saw the building burn, the owner of the building said some choice words to me in a meeting, and I just let it go. Sometimes you got to do the right thing, even if it's not popular.
It's funny that you spoke about the situation. These new cars that they're bringing out on bicycles. Recently here in the New York area, I don't know about any other state, but here in the Bronx in particular, there has been several fires in buildings because of that lithium battery that they plug in to charge overnight,
Yeah.
and causing that problem. And at first, people did not believe that it's just a battery that is causing that problem. They thought it was the arson, just as the cell phone that they tell you cannot take on the plane anymore. They have to put it in a box before you can travel and that kind of stuff. But again, it goes back to the conversation I was having with you. We travel out here and we garner certain experiences and to try and educate the folks back home. They want to know who you think you be, where you come from. The little black boy from St. Paul's, where he get his PhD and this kind of stuff. But, you know, in time to come, hopefully we will get beyond that. I got another question to ask you. What are some of the shortcomings in the criminal justice system in St. Kitts Nevis, and what are your suggestions to improve them with the new dispensation of what's taking place there?
Well, one of the things that I ran into quite a lot when I was there was the law. The law, in the United States, when it comes to fingerprints, there's a certain amount of for lack of a better word, of digits on the finger that you can use as evidence. It has a number. I'm not going to say the number. In St. Kitts, the number is less. So we had a killing in Frigate Bay one night, and we retrieved the rounds. Now, when we compared the rounds, we were able to get some prints off of one of the rounds. And I don't know if you're aware, but I'm an advanced fingerprint technician from the FBI.
Yeah.
And I brought into St. Kitts Lieutenant Alexander. He used to be with the BIPD, and then he was last with Atlanta PD. You remember the Wayne Williams, the guy that killed all those little boys? He was the technician on that case that caught that guy. But he came and he trained our police officers on how to read print. So we were able to get the print. But because you had to have a certain number of points on that print, we could not arrest the person. Unfortunately, that person was murdered themselves one morning out in the country. I won't say exactly when. We had another incident where Kevin, that shop on Sprott Street, was robbed. I got a phone call telling me, Commissioner, I see two guys going up the street, and they gave me the names. And so I went down there and I got a video of the guys walking up the street. But just before they got to the camera, they pulled the mask down on their face. But we knew who they were. But I knew who one of them was. So when the shooting was over, we retrieved the video from Kevin's shop, and we could see them shooting at Kevin and Kevin shooting back. And so one of them put his hand on the car, and I immediately called for forensics to come to the scene, to go to the scene and dust the car for that particular area. And the guy called back. He said, Commissioner, do you know this person? I said, no. He says, you sure you know this person? I said, no. I said, why? He said, because that print came back to that person. But in St. Kitts, let's say we need 13. We only had 11. So we couldn't arrest him. Now, they had a shooting in the country. They killed somebody in the country. And when I was called, I called Tabernacle. It says, go out to the road. Every car that's coming from Deer Bay, stop them. They stopped the car, and they found the two guys in the car. These were the two guys that robbed Kevin, based on the video. And the print matched the second guy that was with them. I didn't know who he was. But when I saw him at the station, he was the guy. But we couldn't do anything because we didn't have enough numbers on the prints. I mentioned this to one of your former politicians on the opposite side. Him and his lawyer were in my office one day talking to me, and he says, I would have found a way to bring that into evidence. I said, we can't do that because that is not how we do things here. So they need to review that. They need to review that and make the changes. Try to follow the international standards. we brought in bullet casting in St. Kitts because all the cops were doing was picking up bullets. Because we couldn't afford $2 million for a machine, the U.S. Department of Justice gave us a course in bullet casting. So we have people in St. Kitts who are trained. So when they go to a crime scene, they pick up the bullets, they form a mold of the bullets, so we can tell that these were the same bullets. That's how we found out that the guys in St. Kitts were going to Nevis and committing murders because the same bullets were now found in Nevis. And it's a whole lot of other stuff I can tell you that I don't want to put on the air, but the first thing they need to do is to change that. That needs to be changed to come into international standards because we're letting people walk. I had a family member who was the first person we caught. I don't know if you remember, I was able to get a $2 million fingerprint system in St. Kitts from the U.S. government while I was there. And someone broke into a place and they brought the prints to me and said, hey, can you run these prints and see who they belong to? They didn't tell me who it was, but it turned out to be my cousin. So he went to jail. The first man that went to jail was my cousin. But for me, no, it doesn't matter. If you're committing a crime, I'm locking you up. That's how it works with me.
Yeah.
So you have to change that.
I got about another 2 or 3 questions for your commissioner, if you can
Yeah, I'll give you some. I'll give you 15 more minutes.
All right, Commissioner. All right, cool. Okay, the next question is, what is the MAGIC program?
Okay, that's a very good question. When we came to St. Kitts, we found a lot of things were out of whack with the children. We work with gender affairs, and we work with the people who are in charge of juveniles and detention in St. Kitts, and we try to make some changes. But what touched me one day was I was sitting on top of the roof of the police station because a local mother had brought her son to me. She wanted me to talk to him because she believed he was going down the wrong path. And while I was on the roof talking to him, 3 little boys from Washi walked down the road. They looked up and said, Commissioner, we want you to talk to us because we don't want to go to jail. These are little kids, 13-year-olds. They don't want to go to jail. One of them said, my brother is over in the jail right now. I don't want to go over there. So I brought him on the top of the roof, and we talked. And I reached out to my sheriff, my old sheriff in Orlando, and I asked him about a program called MAGIC, which means mentoring, advising, guiding, and instructing children. And they put this in the primary schools in St. Kitts, elementary schools here, because they want to give the children alternatives to gangs, guns, drugs, and violence. And so it's an 11-week course that is taught by police officers. It costs about $40,000 a year for the program. And I think it's like a couple of $1,000s a month. He gave it to me for free. He said, as long as you're in St. Kitts, you can have it for free. And so he sent a lieutenant to come to St. Kitts to train our officers. We selected people for that purpose. And so we put it in the schools. And before you realize it, we had 273 graduates. And I did that also because after Christmas, my first Christmas in St. Kitts, that January, when they went back to school, a little boy went home, changed his clothes in all black. They're from Sandy Point. And he came back with a machete and tried to chop up one of the fellow students. And we put the MAGIC in schools, we put SROs in schools, and we hoped that this would fix things, and it did for 3.5 years. And then even when I left, if you notice, you have a program, Explorers program, which was one of my suggestions in my 5-year plan when I left to help continue the reduction of crime. This was also used. The other program that we have is called TAPS, and that's for the high schools. And that's Teens and Police Service. And that's out of Houston, but it's now gaining momentum to the point that CARICOM saw it working in St. Kitts. And I'm gonna have to give the last administration credit because for 7 years they pushed the program. And the fruits of that program was less juvenile crime in St. Kitts and less public gang membership in St. Kitts. So I have to give them credit for that. And now it's up to this government to continue, because it began on the labor, but it was followed through by the last government. So now that we have labor again, labor just needs to continue it, because the end result is going to be continued reduction of juvenile crime within the Federation.
Yeah, but the Commissioner, I have a final question for you. And this one, I think, should be the easiest question of the evening. Thanks for the honest response to those previous questions. But there's a new police commissioner on board, Commissioner James Sutton. What is your opinion of Commissioner Sutton, and do you think he has the ability and the necessary tool to do a good job and try reducing the crime rate in the Federation?
Well, as a police commissioner myself, I know that when you sit in that seat, all of your faults are going to come out and they're going to be amplified. Every time you don't get it right, it's going to be amplified. My instructions to Commissioner Sutton is to make sure that when you say something, you mean what you say and say what you mean. Do not waver in your decisions. You are going to have to listen to the people around you, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to make the final decision. As it relates to, do I think he has what it takes? I believe that the Prime Minister has made the right decision in seeking someone from within the Federation. I applaud him for that, because we need to show our people that they are qualified. As you said a while ago, the call has gone out for those of us who are out here who can help to make things better at home. But sometimes we have people at home who can make it better. The only difference between those at home and us is that we have a different frame of reference. We can see it from a different lens, wherein their lens is going to be local.
All right.
So as far as my thoughts on this commissioner, I believe the governor, different
Prime
country.
Minister.
The Prime Minister has made the right choice. People will make mistakes. It's a learning process. But as long as the commissioner supports the men and women, and Commissioner, I'm going to talk to you directly, those sergeants and those corporals and those men and women on the street, those are your backbone. You need to do everything you can to keep them happy. Wellness, training, sick days, whatever it takes to make sure that they are satisfied, that is what you do. At the end of the day, we have 7 pillars of 21st century policing, and one of those is wellness. You have to make sure that if you don't have a gym, which I believe y'all just got a new one, that you give your men and women time off so they can rest. You give your men and women time so they can study, and you give your men and women time so they can spend time with their families. If you don't, you're going to have a lot of sick people calling in sick. You're going to have a lot of people, they're not going to quit, but they're going to go slow, as y'all say in St. Kitts. There are 5 levels of management. And the first one is where you do enough work so you don't get fired. That's the first level. The second level is, are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, you disappeared. Okay, the first level is where you do enough work so you don't get fired. People will come to work and they will shuffle papers, and then when they see the boss coming, then they start doing what they're supposed to do. That's because they're not impressed with you. They're just doing what they have to do to get paid. The second level is when they let you lead them. Right now, you are at the first level with a lot of the officers. Some you are at the second level, but your goal is to get to the 5th level where you can sit in your office knowing that the people below you are doing their job and not abusing the people below them. So my advice, again, is to stay firm, mean what you say what you mean, and treat your people with love and respect. Yes, I believe that he has what it takes to do the job.
Great. Commissioner Walwin, when you attend funerals, it gives you a chance to reflect, knowing that at some point in time, you're going to be the star of that show, right? And you start having those conversations. And I had several conversations over the weekend with folks in the St. Croix area and in St. Thomas. And one of the things that seems to become a crime, that knowledge that you may gain that someone don't have that access to, is a problem for some people. I said that to say this. Many of us that have traveled out of the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, hadn't we traveled out, we may not have had the experiences and the knowledge that we have, and might be stuck in that same zone as some people back home is in at the moment. So I tried my hardest, or my damnedest, as the folks will say, that when people are acting a certain way, in a certain way, not to make it an argumentative situation, but try and dialogue to make them understand. We are not enemies. I am not better than you because I jumped on a plane and went to North America. I had the opportunity that you did not have. So I am exposed to other options. And I want to show you these options that you can explore them and see there's other ways of making life easier for you. Some people, and I had that situation today. I gave a friend of mine a phone call because of a situation that was brought to my attention. And basically that phone call was to try to find out what is happening and to see how best to deal with that situation. In the short space of time that we're here, people might not know. I made a statement or a comment on the program about constructive criticism. And you sent me a message. And I would like you to tell the people, explain to them the message you replied to me without denying it.
Okay. Well, first of all, we hear this every day. We were saying constructive criticism. There is no such thing as constructive criticism because you're still criticizing the person. Criticism is in the word constructive criticism. So you need to change it to positive feedback. You're trying to get feedback or you're giving feedback to the person because you're trying to correct a behavior. But when you sit there and you tell me, well, I don't mean to criticize you, but you already used the word criticize. They said, that is good, but how about trying this, see if it'll work? It's different than me coming out and telling you, you're stupid, you did this wrong. No, you said that's one way of doing it, but let me show you another way. And you show them that way to get it done. As a PhD, we don't use constructive criticism because, again, criticism is in there. You have to give feedback. If you look at applications and even at work now, they always have a place that says feedback. They want feedback. That's why they use that word feedback, not criticism. So for those of us who are using constructive criticism, change it to feedback, whether it's positive feedback or just feedback. That's what you need to use.
I appreciate that correction, Commissioner, because I do some training myself in health and safety throughout the region, throughout the entire US for the union over the years. And the first thing I always say to the class, I'm going to say class, I don't mean just regular people in housekeeping. We train from the CEO, from the president of those hospitals, all the way down to the cleaners. And you will be surprised that some of the most difficult people to relate to is the doctors, some nurses, but most of management. They always think they have all the answers, and their answers are always the wrong answers. So I start off by saying there is no dumb questions. There is no stupid questions.
That's correct.
Feel free to ask any question that you want to ask, and I'm going to try and present it because everything is there in the book. People read the same chapter, the same paragraph, but for some reason they have a different understanding. I know you do a little, if not a lot, of pastoring as well, and I'm pretty sure you know the contradiction in the Bible. and how people try to convert you to their belief, you know, with the various religions. So I continue to do my part out here to sensitize the people, be respectful, and I don't expect everyone to agree with what I say, but what I try to deliver, the message I try to send is positive and precise. I have realized that many people that are criticizing other folks for not doing what they think need to be done, they themselves are doing more damage and have done more, because when you try to point out to them that you too have your shortcomings, it become a vexation, it become a argument, and you know what they do these days. They don't come and speak to you as an individual to have a little conversation or a feedback, as you would call it. They go on social media and they'll blast it. So you never have that opportunity to settle the dust and try to make things happen. Brother Commissioner, I know you said you will stay with me for another 15 minutes. I do not know if you have to go or if you want to hang around, because there is some individuals that are coming up. I know I had Mr. Williams. There's a situation with the new prison that's been built in St. Kitts by the Chinese. Mr. Williams is a former candidate in the former unity elections in 2020, former ambassador, contractor and business owner in St. Kitts. And he has some things to speak on about the prison. So if you can hold on with me another 15 minutes, if you can ask for permission, I would like you to at least hear his openings of some of the concerns.
Okay, I will listen, but I won't partake in.
No, I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want you.
Okay.
I don't want you to get into the. I just want you to hear, because,
Okay.
you know, I just want you to see, even though you're not commissioner there anymore, there's still things going on. And then following brother Williams' presentation, I'm going to have a little conversation with some folks here online that is going to be running for the Cricket Association elections that will be taking place in St. Kitts tomorrow.
Okay.
But I will
turn my camera out, but I will still listen. And
No
by
problem.
the way, to the young lady in Dallas who told me my camera was on, thank you. Before we started, someone in Dallas was watching your show and they said, you just popped up. They told me on WhatsApp. So again, we just talked about what happens on social media and where it goes. And here it is, somebody's all the way in Dallas, Fort Worth, telling me here in Florida that my camera in St. Kitts is on. You got me?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I do not know if you want to do your closing remarks now, because I don't want, if you have to leave before, I don't really want you to have to hang around. So you can go ahead and do your closing remarks.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be on your show this evening. And I'd like your permission. I did not record it. You know, I have a radio station here at my house also, but I didn't record your show without your permission. So when you do put it together, if I can have a copy, I can air on my radio station as well. Would that be okay with you?
And anything that is here is public knowledge, and especially that you are here in the program, just feel free. Whether you want to get it via YouTube, Facebook, my technician could send the information straight to you.
The technician, because YouTube will charge us for running it. So.
Okay, so I will have my technician, one of my technician. As a matter of fact, one of my technician, I think, is a very good friend of yours, you know. So I know he's online, so he don't need to get my permission. Elvan Ellie, just feel free to forward the information to Brother Walwin and make sure that he get it within the prescribed time that he needed, that he can go ahead and do his stuff.
Okay.
You know, we are here to sensitize and educate the public, so there's nothing to hide. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on your show, and to the listening audience, I appreciate you staying tuned in to hear what we were talking about. I am a Kittitian by birth. My mother was born in St. Kitts. My grandparents are from Nevis. My father is from Antigua. I'm related to almost everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis. So for that reason, my children won't marry anybody from St. Kitts and Nevis. But I want to thank you for listening tonight. The topic that we discussed, they affect everybody's lives. We all have family in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we all can make a difference by saying something when we see something. I want the present government to know that I do support them, not because they are labor, but because they are the government of my place of birth. And I will support whoever is in charge, even if I don't like them. But I like this one. And so I will go ahead and support them. To the police department, I want to thank you for your love and respect during the time I was there. And to the present commissioner and his staff, I wish you all success, and I'm here to assist you anytime you need some advice. I do charge for my work, but I will do it for you for free. You know, of course, we have the business in Texas and we have the thing here in Florida, but I will help St. Kitts and Nevis out wherever I can. And I just want to say thank you again for having us and wish you well in everything that you continue to do in bringing information to our people. Thank you.
New Jersey, led by Brother Vernon Benders. We had a lovely time there in St. Thomas on Sunday evening at the boat ride, the boat race and the boat show there in the waterfront in St. Thomas. Those guys really performed well. It was a pleasure seeing the horn section doing their thing. It was good seeing my boy Dylan on guitar, George on bass. And they did a very good job. So I want to thank Brother Eustace Hendrickson as well for his continued support and contribution to DJ Morrishaw's online program here to help assist with some of that overhead that we have to pay to the engineers and internet and stuff like that. I want to big up the man, Brother JT Taylor. I do not know where in the world you are. Want to big up the man Carbo. We're going to get back to Carbo in a bit because Carbo did some very special stuff for the people of Nevis and by extension for democracy there this week. We'll deal with that. Want to big up Gigi Williams. Keith, how are you doing? Good evening. Brother Elvin Ellie, Celine Tobias, Sheila Visha, Sheila Vera Deming. How about my girl Visha? How is Visha doing? Are you on the door? Good evening. How are you doing? Livy Brown. Want to also big up my girl there, Hazel Claxton. How are you doing, Sister Naomi Ward? Brother Ivor Henry, how are you doing? Sister Lioness Charles, how are you doing? Everything good with you? Are you gonna do someplace? Juliet Connor, how are you doing? Cuz want to big up my favorite cousin there in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, Sister Mem Natalie Carty. Caroline, hope you guys are doing okay. Also want to big up my boy, the brother Aston Williams, Sister Lara, I know you guys someplace hanging out. Chantel Brooks, how are you doing? Loretta Clark Quilly, how are you doing? I want to also big up my uncle here, Brother Joseph Emmanuel, there at Garvey's Estate. How are you doing, Sister Gloria Hutchinson, there at Smart Fit? Remember, there's a location on here on Street, right across from the gas station. The new location is there at Central Street in the old Simaco building next to Skelec. Check out Gloria for your dandans and stuff. Want to big up the Manchester Watson. How about Sister Yvonne? How are you doing? Yvonne Jeffers, how are you doing? How about Sandra, Millie, and crew? My sister there, Sister Cicely Brown. Pastor Brown, how are you doing? Also want to big up Omelo Jeffers. Good evening, how are you doing? Sister Gwyneth Marisha, how are you doing? I guess you're sleeping still. How about my mascot there? Brother Troy Biff Mills. Good evening. You know, we're going to get straight into the 2020 politics because some things happened there a few days ago. On Monday, when I got in from the Virgin Islands, I received a message as soon as I get out the plane and got my phone off airplane mode. I received a message from Brother Andrew Huey of SK Newsline. And he was following up with me to let me know that he accepted the offer to go across to Nevis and do some investigative journalism in regards to that hospital wing that is taking place there at Nevis. And he wanted to ensure that plans were in place for him when he get across there. So I told him to give me a few minutes. Well, not a few minutes, but I told him I'm on my way home from the airport. So give me a bit. When I get into the house, I'll make the contacts and follow up with him, which I did. So I'm going to drop some clips here of the press conference from the Premier and Nevis yesterday. And there's one clip where Brother Huey asks a few questions, and I'm going to give my view on the whole situation. And folks, I know some of you cannot deal with the facts, right? And you all want me to polish things. I don't polish things. When I come here in this program and I speak truth to power. I call the things like I say it. And if you guys want a puppet to come say what you all want to hear, you want to go on the next program over there by the patch up fella and by the markup fella, because I'm not here saying things for likes or for love. I'm bringing the information to you as it is and well. So good evening, Sister Cora Bennett. How are you doing? Sister Beverly Morrishaw. I want to touch my girl there in the Tobago area, missionary Deborah Wallace. How are you doing? Brother Roger Wallace. Sister Gloria Beard, I understand you fall and enjoy yourself there. I hope you're doing well. I hope you stop beating up on Daddy. I think you was doing something to Daddy while you fell, you know. So I want to big up the man Victor Beard, Sister Melissa Beard, the man Daniel and Chanel. So this first clip is a presentation from the markup fellow, the baby Brantleys, at the press conference yesterday and Nevis. So stand by for this clip. Remember, we're doing overtime, so when I finish this segment of the clip, we're going to call it a night, you know.
That they will only work for government. So, if there's no job available in government, they say, nothing happening on the island. And how much time they apply to government and not get through. And how long government has their CV. And they have not been able to find a job. As if only government is an employer on the island. If I had my way, government would be the smallest employer on the island.
You hear what the baby Brantley say? You hear what baby Brantley say? If he have his way, this is at his press conference yesterday, no? This is Emmanuel who was elected as premier back in December of 2022. If he has his way, his government will be the smallest employer, not trying to make work for people to do. I want all to do these things and pay attention.
If I had my way. Because the private sector must be the engine of growth for jobs and for economic activity in the community, not government. So our people need to reorient that thinking, where government job is what I want, and if I don't get a government job, then I don't want any other job. And I tried my best, you know, because I do that sometimes, because I think you get some unvarnished views on social media. So I try my best to find out why government jobs are so popular. We all know government jobs don't pay a lot. So
I wonder why he wants a government job. If government job don't pay a lot, why you want a government job, but nobody else must have one? This is the question I want the journalists them to ask you when you make these dumb statements at your press conference. Since government job don't pay a lot, and you have no interest in creating jobs for the people, why did you want a government job? You are the head government. You got the best job in government. You're the premier. You're in charge. You're large. So if you don't want the people to get a government job, leave it alone. Let somebody who want to create jobs for the people get the job. Continue, Brother Premier.
why they're so popular? And somebody said because people feel that they can be in government, they do as they like, when they like, how they like. Nobody could tell them nothing, and once you get in, you can't get out.
Well, partner, that's the case with you. You're inside there doing as you please, how you please, when you want, and you don't want to come out. The people them want you to go, and you're fighting to stay, and you're not creating a job for the people. You're not doing nothing for the people. Some people don't like when I say it because they don't want to hear the truth. I just had a partner the online from St. Paul's that the people reject. My partner Ninky said, you're the best premier. But he crying about other things that you all put the Chinese them and the foreigners them in there. Under your administration, I give all the work to foreigners. But he said, you are the best premier. I got to talk to me about Ninky when I get to St. Kitts on a serious note. So continue, baby Brantley.
So I'm suggesting if that is your attitude, then you would need to readjust. They feel that they can't go to Four Seasons and go elsewhere in the private sector because there they can't do as they like. They can't call in sick when they like. They can't miss work and be late for work and take long lunch and leave early. They actually have to work. And if we retreat from that for a moment, we ask the question, when did our people get to be so? Because I assure you now, when Nevis people leave Nevis and go America, if the jobs start 2 o'clock in the morning and they have to take 3 or 4 trains to get there in the dead of winter, they make it. And they make it on time. In Nevis, little rain fall, and you say, me cold, can't go work today. I'm saying these things not to create a joke about them. I'm saying them because if we are going to get serious about becoming a competitor in today's world and raising our standards, it means that our people have to see themselves in a particular way. This thing of I vote for government, so when you get in, me and my 6 children, all of them must work in government because we vote for you.
No, that is the impression that the politician gives to the people during the campaign. You vote for me and I will take care of you. That's what you did in your campaign prior to December 12, 2022. You give people the impression you're going to do all of these things for them. So now you are elected, you are telling them, don't expect you to deliver what you promised. Is that what you're telling the people, baby Brantley? And the people have to wake up, pay attention and listen, people. Listen to this politician when they're campaigning. Pay attention to what they do after they win office. Remember, when they come back to you, what to tell them. Pass me gate. Pass me gate. Remember to tell them these things. Continue listening to baby Brantley, your premier.
We need to get past that and start to look at what opportunities there are in the local economy, including what opportunities there are for us to start our own business and create something rather than a culture of constantly looking for a job. How about you create a business where you now start in time to hire people? Because we know that's the only way, ultimately, that you're going to create wealth, is if you have your own revenue stream. It can't be just you're working for somebody. And so we need our young people especially to start to think like that and to move away from this I could only work for government mentality, and if I can't get a job in government, it means nothing happening. When other people coming in here, again, I hope I'm not controversial, but I spoke to a young lady the other day, and the young lady could barely speak English. She's from the Dominican Republic, right? She and I speak very little Spanish. She spoke very little English. So we use some sign language, we use some English language, we use some Spanish language to try and communicate. It's 3 jobs the lady have. 3, 1, 2, 3. So I said, well, how you can't talk English and get 3 jobs in Nevis? Think about it.
Baby Brantley, you think about it. You think about it. You and the farmer administration, your team unity concoction, you all lost favor with the people of the Federation. The people wanted to get rid of you. are you bringing these foreigners who don't know an ounce of English to vote for you guys and went against the citizens of St. Kitts Nevis' will? When we say get rid of them, you are leftovers. You know, I don't know if St. Paul's people remember, you know. Growing up in St. Kitts, leftovers was the sweetest food that I used to get. My grandmother used to give me my 2 dumpling and my soup with my potato and dashing and yam and tanya. And I make sure that I take my 2 dumpling and put them aside, because when I fry them the next morning, you don't want to taste a better piece of food in your mouth for breakfast. Me fried dumpling. But you ain't a fried dumpling. You have some sour left over. The way you're talking about your people, cussing your citizens. Every time people try to take a little advice to you, to tell you, well, we're hurting, we need this, we need that, to guide you, you cuss them. DJ Morrishaw love you as a person. DJ Morrishaw don't hate you. DJ Morrishaw want to see you change direction and respect the people of Nevis and put things in place for the benefit of the people. Stop bullshitting the people. Stop giving everything to foreigners. Take care of your local people. That's all DJ Morrishaw want, and you got a problem with it. You go on your program and you cuss everybody and nobody know you and this and that and all that nonsense. You're going to come say now that you know that there are foreigners in the country that have 3 jobs, while Nevision don't have 1, local don't have 1. They don't even know how to speak English. What are you bringing them there? Are you invite them there? The writing is on the wall. You know, you ought to bamboozle people every time you turn around, you try to change things and blame somebody else for your doing. You know, but I realized tonight you got a supporter. My partner, Linky Williams. What a fella.
3 jobs, 3 different establishments, and does not speak English. And we have people born and bred here who telling you them can't find something to do. We need to get out, and I'm not trying to say, okay, it's not difficult. But some people, for example, they send a letter to apply. 6 months later, they get a response. They start to cuss. I asked them, did you follow up? Did you follow up? Did you call to say, did you receive my letter? Can I come and have an interview? So. Sometimes people may not respond to you, and the mere fact that you don't follow up, you know what the people say, well, they're more serious to start with. Not serious to start with. So we need to look at ourselves and engage and be responsible in what we do. And if jobs are available, please, please, I'm begging our people, go out and apply. Make yourself available. Put yourself in a position to benefit. That is what we have to do. And the government can only do so much. So we brought the call center here. The call center is now hiring. Well, go there. Jobs are there. Go find one. That's what you need to do. Not call me and, oh, you could put in a good word for me and you could tell them to hire me. No, that is not the way the process works. The process works that you apply and you go to the job fair and you put your best foot forward.
But baby Brampton, that's how you all do this thing. That is how you all campaign in the Federation, both St. Kitts and Nevis. You all ask people for the vote and promise them they're going to get a job. And you're going to put in a good word for them. So how are you going to do this during the campaign? And when somebody now come to you for the favor you promise them, you're going to tell them that is not how it works. Remember, that's how the lady they saying. You promise her daughter to give her something, you tell her come to your office. And all you do is bullshit them. And you bullshit them again. That's what your politician does. You go to people's house, you go to the door, vote for me. When I get into office, I will take care of you. Now you're telling them that's not how the system works. But that's the system I know it to be in St. Kitts Nevis for years. Throughout the time that I have known one hand wash the other. That's how we're going. Lord, man.
If your appointment for your interviews 9:15, you don't start in at 9:30. You put your best foot forward. And I know our people have the ability to do it. For some reason, we decide that we don't want to do it. And I'm urging our people to change that.
Well, that is Baby Bradley telling us that Univision that elect him to office to create jobs for you. You're out of place because that's not how it works. You give him a job, now you got to go find your own job because he's not doing nothing for you. That's what Baby Brandt is telling the people. Well, as I said earlier, my boy Andre Huey was on the case yesterday, and we're going to get into the whole operation with that. But before we get into the whole conversation with that, let's listen to Brother Andre Huey at the press conference. He did a great job. Let's congratulate him and taking up the challenge that I gave him, and also taking the time out to go across to Nevis. I want to also thank my brother there, Brother Prince Mills of the Carib Express, to give him the ride across to Nevis. And I want to big up the man Carbo and Mr. Patterson for assisting Brother Huey while he was on Nevis. So take a listen.
Good morning, Premier. Good morning to those in the room. Andre Huey, SK Newsline. Just a few questions. And maybe I could start where you just left off regarding jobs. And just to get your thoughts, do you think that the political culture, as you talk about people wanting work primarily with government, do you think the political culture on both St. Kitts and Nevis may have over the years encouraged this kind of dependency on government, so to speak, where persons feel they must have a government job in order to have a job? Earlier you spoke about non-nationals having to make sure that they are properly or they're legally living in Nevis. I know some time ago the NIA would have introduced an amnesty for persons who would have needed to regularize their status. How did that process go? How are we with that process? Have majority of the persons taken advantage of that? If you have figures, that would be helpful as well. I know the last time you spoke about the hospital expansion project and you had given some figures. In terms of completion date, I don't recall if you had given a deadline or a timeline as to when the hospital that project is expected to be finished, and how far are we with that. With the work that is left to be done, do you anticipate that the project will still be completed within budget, or you may go over budget? And if you could also, I know you would have spoken about it as well, and you'd have listed COVID-19 as one of the challenges that would have led to the delay in the project. But were there any other extenuating circumstances that could have led to the delay in the project, which has been going on for quite some time? And finally, the athletic stadium, of course, hosted the one of the major athletics championships in the country recently. I know in the past you would have indicated that there are plans to complete the stadium, as in installing grandstands, etc. Is that still on the books, and how would the government intend to fund that completion?
So that is Brother Andre Huey of SK Newsline that took up the offer that I gave to him via this program to go across to Nevis in his capacity as an investigative journalist and try and get some answers, some real answers out of Baby Brantley. And he took the first opportunity yesterday to go across to Nevis and put his questions to Baby Brantley at his press conference. So let's see how he responds to Brother Andre Huey. But I don't think he knew what hit him yesterday, because he would have normally disrespect other journalists. But he knew that Andre Huey would not be in any way deterred from getting his answers where he needed them.
Okay, thank you very much. You started by talking about the political culture and whether or not that has encouraged persons to only want to work in government. I would have thought that the political culture, particularly recently, would tell people that working in government may not be so secure, because in St. Kitts we had a government in 2015, that government had collapsed 7 years later. That wasn't much job security for persons who were hired based on politics. I think that if you're pinning your sail to a political party for work, then that is probably not a sustainable approach for you and your family. I think what our people need to ensure is that they're qualified, whatever job they get, and that they settle down and they engage in that work. Now, I am a politician, so I will not stand here and tell you that people will not be employed because of politics, because that does happen. But I'm simply saying that the job security, when you tie your mask to a political party, it really depends on the fortunes of that political party. So every 5 years, your job is at risk, just like the job of the politician is at risk. And I don't know if you're raised in a family that that is the best approach for you. I can't tell people what to do. But my view would be it would be far better to go out there and get a profession or get something in the private sector or start your own business where you have far more control of what it is you are doing. That's just my sentiment. So I don't know that the political culture has contributed to it. If it has, I would ask people to disavow that and move away from that, because in my view, that is unhelpful. Amnesty, we have, Mr. Huey, granted a number of amnesties here on Nevis. I think by my tally about 4 at this point now. And the last amnesty would have ended last year. And we made it very clear that we are not inclined to go down that road again, because we have given not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 opportunities to persons. Sadly, what has happened, Mr. Huey, and this is my analysis, is that individuals, everybody out there playing smart. So people say, oh, they give an amnesty 2 years ago. I'm not going to pay nothing. Let me use proper English. I will pay nothing for work permit, residency, or whatever, because they must give an amnesty again. That is the thinking. And then it is also unfair to those who are law-abiding, because those individuals who every December they have their work permit money, their residency money put aside to make sure that they are legal in the country. Then after they would have paid, 6 months later they hear, oh, amnesty. You know, when you have amnesty, people come in all 7, 8 years. They've been living here and don't have no work permit, don't have anything. And then to compound the problem, you hear us say we gave 1, 2, 3, 4. You still have people seeing you after the 4th amnesty has expired till they didn't know. You never hear about it and this kind of thing. Right? People came all from St. Kitts, come up here, so they want amnesty. We had to tell them no. The amnesty up here is for Nevis. But it comes back to our people being responsible. And that's all we have been asking as a government. We're prepared to work with people, but we've asked our people to be responsible. The hospital, in terms of a completion date, we didn't give a completion date. I did say that I expected substantial completion by the end of this year. I've said that. I confess that I did not get an update prior to coming here. I do know that we were waiting for some quantity estimates to be done for the interior. The exterior of the building is now complete. The interior is what we're now working on. And I would hope by the next press conference I'll have a full update on where we are in relation to the hospital.
I guarantee you, Brother Huey, if he's in the Federation, will be going back up there for the next press conference. And he's going to get the same response. He's waiting on some information. This is the line of response from this fellow. This is his line of response. I'm going to get back to you, and he never get back to you.
Will it be finished within budget? No. We expect that it will go over budget for a number of reasons. Because of the delays, yes, the time that has gone, but also because, as you know, materials and the cost of construction has gone up exponentially. So we do anticipate that it will go over budget. We're trying to, however, ensure that it doesn't go too far over the original budget. And we are working already with donors to see what we can do in terms of outfitting the hospital, the equipment, because remember, that's an additional cost to get all the necessary equipment, fixtures, furniture, etc. in. The athletic stadium, we still have plans to do that. It is not a matter that is on our radar for this fiscal year, but it is certainly within our plan for this term that we will get some additional seating over at the Mondo facility, coupled with the other amenities, bathrooms and gym and all of that. In fact, we have a plan already that I have seen. In my view, it's a little overly ambitious. I've said that to them. But we do have a plan, and we will need to find the funding. More than likely, Mr. Huey, our funding tends to come from revenue, and we tend to get funding from loans and our donor agencies. So that's what we are hopeful. But we are hopeful that with our economy growing as it is, and I believe that it is growing in a way that most of us who are paying attention can see, I think once that economy continues to grow, it augurs well for our ability to raise money through our revenue streams. Anything further for me?
Yes, and going back to the amnesty. So, considering that you've done 4 amnesties and some people did not take advantage of that, what's the next step?
Next step is they must come in and regularize themselves, pay what is owed, or they, if they're picked up by immigration, will have to deal with the consequences of that. I believe that we have done over and over and over again, granted amnesty after amnesty, preached, begged, cajoled, but if persons are here and insist that they are going to live outside the law, then they will have to deal with whatever the consequences of that might be. There's very little more that I believe any government can be asked to do in those circumstances.
Earlier, my colleague asked about the 420 friendly, but I'm asking it now in a different context, in the context of the Cannabis Act, which has been activated recently. What plans are there for Nevis in terms of developing a cannabis industry and really utilizing that opportunity to create opportunities, economic opportunities for the island? So, while you're on that too, a related question. The 420 friendly expression obviously now has somewhat fed into the notion by some people, and of course you've spoken to that, which is they can now freely smoke marijuana in public places. Are you concerned that there might be an apathy on the part of people towards that to the law, thinking that, okay, we can now smoke wherever, whenever, and whether or not the police will enforce the law to ensure that persons obey the law when it comes to that?
Well, Mr. Huey, the police have their job to do. I mean, the police, it's like asking me if people start to steal, shoplift, break into people's homes and it becomes the norm. Should the police see a man breaking into your house and just leave you alone? It's for the police to do their job. And for me, the law, as I said, as I understand it, is clear as to what is permissible and what is not. You could smoke at home. You could smoke in privacy. You can enjoy whatever enjoyment there is to be had from smoking marijuana. And the law protects that. You go out now in public and you do it, and the law says no. And let us be fair. As popular as marijuana smoking has become, not everybody does it. Not everybody cares for it. There's some people who are adversely affected by smoke. So if I pay my money to go to a music festival, let me pretend that I'm female for the moment. So I do my hair. I do my nails. I buy my new outfit. I put on my best. Yes, I heard the eyelashes. So all of that I put on. And I am allergic to smoke. Or I just don't like smoke. And I pay my money. And I go on in to see Dexter Daps. And when Dexter Daps performing, somebody light up right next to me. Now, how is that fair to me? All the new wig I just buy smell of marijuana now. I can't even go back home in the house with it. How is that fair to me? So, we have to sometimes look at these things and say, it's not just about somebody who wants to get high and want to enjoy. And some of the activities I see look like the high better in public than it is in private. I don't understand it. Because some man only want to smoke where people could see them. Right? So you have to ask yourself the question, what about those people who don't engage in it and maybe don't like it and may have an adverse reaction to it? So when you say that music fest or any other fest going to be 420 friendly, well, are you telling those people they shouldn't come? Because some people don't like it. Some of us drink alcohol, others do not like it. They don't want it. They have an adverse reaction to it. The difference with alcohol is if I'm having a drink, my drink is only affecting me. Unless I spill it on somebody by accident. But when you're smoking and you're puffing and you're blowing out your smoke is affecting everybody around you. So part of this debate also has to be about acting sensibly and understanding that your preferences are yours, but your preferences should not impact somebody else adversely. That's why you go American thing now, all who want to smoke go outside. No smoking in buildings. Because your right to smoke should not affect your coworker who's there, who say, well, I don't want any secondhand smoke in my lungs. I don't want any adverse reaction from smoking. I am asthmatic, I am whatever. I don't want that. I don't want to go to work every day and come home smelling like a chimney when I don't smoke. And that too is their right. So, Mr. Hugh, I think as we talk about this thing, we need to balance. That's what we need. Let us always remember, all of us in society are imbued with a set of rights. But if any of us were to enjoy our rights 100%, by the very nature of your exclusive enjoyment of your rights, you will infringe on somebody else's rights. So let us take property. I have my right to property. I own this plot of land. But my neighbor has the same right as I do. So if I now start to use my land in a way to create a nuisance for my neighbor, because the same right of enjoyment that I have, my neighbor has. So I decide I'm going to let water run through, take my water, go through the neighbor land. No, the law doesn't allow that. So I say that to say that we need balance. And we cannot create a situation where those who want to smoke or prone to smoke feel like they have more rights than others who don't want it. And that is why I voted in favor. I was in Parliament, I voted in favor of the marijuana use in private. Because my view was that if you're in the privacy of your home, your yard, the Rastafarians in the privacy of their temple, whatever the case may be, then you can use it there. But when you come on the street and thing, and every time I tell this story, I remember a businesswoman who complains to me, say on Friday afternoon, she has a kite and she don't smoke. But the amount of marijuana coming through her window, because all the young men feel that they must be in town. Right? The girls must see me rolling my spliff, and everybody must see me when I take a puff. I don't know, as I said, if they hire better when you're in town. But that is the attitude that some of them have. Right? Now, if you need to, why is it you can't smoke at home and then come to town? So, I really don't know what will happen, but I feel that we need a balance. And while the society is fast moving to a greater embrace of marijuana, which as we know had been criminalized and a lot of people had been brutalized over marijuana for a very long time, I think while we're softening the position, we also have to take into account that there's a significant section of our community that does not smoke, that doesn't even support it. that doesn't want it anywhere with them or around them. And we have to respect that as well. And people now can feel, well, the thing free up now, so we could do what we want. Can't be that. All right, so.
You know, I must give Baby Brantley an A with his position in this clip and the marijuana thing. We are on the same page with that, Baby Brantley. But you know, the problem I'm going to have with you, I'm going to dive back into my archive, hopefully for the next program, because I have so much information to bring. Every week, you all give me so much topics that I cannot keep up. It's too much to do in one night, and it's overtime business. I ain't gonna continue with this overtime. But tonight I decided to push the issue because I wanted to get in Commissioner Walwin and Brother Ninky, and then the cricketers. Their election is tomorrow, so I really had to push them in tonight. But if we go back to Baby Brantley campaign just recently, during the federal election, he was campaigning for marijuana. He was pushing for this cannabis thing. And that's why Andrew Huey brought the questions to him. Total 360. Total 360 to his position then. So these folks just continue on this campaign trail to lie more. And you folks just fall for it until you get into office. You know, I want to drop this clip by Brother Hugh today. He was on Freedom FM 106.5 FM issues, and he gave a shout out to Brother Carbo and crew that accommodated him in Nevis yesterday. So let's take a listen to Brother Huey.
Let me use this opportunity before I forget to really say a special greetings to my newfound friends over there in Nevis. I was in Nevis yesterday on assignment and had the privilege of meeting the famous Carbo over there in Fountain, who operates Carbo's restaurant there and the Snacket and Mini Mart over there in Fountain, and got some good Nivision hospitality from the Nivisians I met yesterday. First time in Fountain. Of all these years I've been going to Nevis, I've never been up to the Fountain area, so it was a pleasure going up there yesterday. To Patterson, who helped me to move around yesterday, thank you very much. And to all my newfound friends, as I said, I met yesterday in Nevis, Ermin, Tish, everyone that I met yesterday. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I do look forward to seeing you again when I come back to Nevis. And they are big fans of Freedom FM. They listen to Freedom FM every day. So I just want to acknowledge them and shout them out this afternoon.
Yeah, so that is Brother Huey, bigging up my boy, the Carbo, and I myself have to thank Carbo and Mr. Patterson for the accommodations yesterday at Nevis. And you know something? I will give an explanation. I'm going to drop this clip, and then I'm going to come back and give an explanation and something that transpired there. And Monday evening, between Monday evening and Tuesday morning, because for me, it was very disappointing and disheartening that after the cry for folks to come to Nevis, for the Prime Minister to come to Nevis and all of this stuff, and I reached out to Brother Andrew Huey, who accepted the offer to go across to Nevis. When it was time for him to be accommodated, the people that was making the most noise don't even have the decency of returning a call or responded appropriately. To date, I'm sitting here. No, very disappointing. So I'm going to drop this clip and I'm going to come back to that scenario. Stand by.
Now, another suggestion which is topical and has caused some controversy is I actually think we need lifestyle audits. I was Solicitor General. I worked as Attorney General. Why should I be afraid of being checked if I didn't steal? I should be asked what I have, how I got it, and when I tell you that it's from allowances, I should prove that. If I tell you I have businesses, let me show the businesses, but I should also show what tax I paid. We must all account for the wealth we have. Otherwise, don't go into public service. I have heard some rebuttals about this lifestyle audit issue and saying everyone should then do it. We can't target people. Does everyone handle public money? Those of us who choose to enter these public offices should be open to accountability. When you are in public office, you are not a private person. There is no privacy. If you drive a Range Rover, we want to know where you got the money. Because you are in public office. If you wear a Rolex, we want to know where you got the money. Otherwise, you don't qualify to serve, and you shouldn't serve in those offices. And that would be true no matter which party came into power. Progressive organizations do at lifestyle audits. I don't know. You can't become a millionaire out of serving in government. How have you done it? How have you done it without abusing your position? If people want to be business people, go and do business. If you want to serve the people, serve the people.
It's funny because just a week ago, I had a minister responsible for Lusaka, Honorable Bowman Nsambo. I asked him a very good question. I asked him where he's gotten all his monies from. I asked him if he's involved in some form of baiting. He said, no, I do work, and the money that government gives me is enough for me to spend, in
ask him for his payslip. That payslip is public. You are a journalist, go on Bowman Nsambo and ask him for his payslip. You are entitled. He's serving you, the people. Seek for that information and check. Go and get my payslip. I can give you the payslip I was getting. I don't think I ever got anything more than 30,000 kwacha as a net salary in that office.
Probably maybe ministers get something way beyond that.
Where?
You can tell
as Attorney General, I was serving in cabinet. Ask the ministers who are telling you they are being paid enough to give you their payslips. You cannot become a millionaire from working in government. Let's be serious. We are serving people who are exchanging. Some are eating today at lunchtime, others are eating tomorrow. People are dying in this country. You cannot start pillaging national resources and then you even fool the people in the manner that you are being told. There is no government salary that can make you a millionaire. There is no, you will live, yes. Okay, you can get a loan here and there. But certainly you can't become a super millionaire. That is for business people. That is why the normal government service, when I was in government, I didn't buy a brand new car. I didn't even buy a brand new car for my wife. The records are there, they can come and check. I didn't. I drove my GRZ car all 3 years. But I had been buying brand new cars before. From where I came from, out of my private business, before I ever served in government, I was buying brand new cars from the showroom. The 3 years I worked in government, I never bought a brand new car. So,
that clip I actually received from Dwyer Astafan. And when I listened to that clip, I wonder if he sent a copy to Baby Brantley, because that statement by that gentleman is so true. All of these politicians that go into office, doesn't matter what position you're in, once you take a public office, you are at the mercy of the people. And the people have a right to question you. And you have to show respect, As I come to the close of the program this evening, I'm already 1 hour and 55 minutes in overtime. But let me take off my glasses here, because I can say without any doubt that I came back from the Virgin Islands on Monday evening, and I was very disappointed in a situation. And I'm going to put it here, because when people are doing things public and acting as if they are so perfect and righteous, it's only fair that we deal with situations as they are. For those of you who listened to this program last week with Brother Andre Huey and heard our discussion about journalists and the role they need to play in both St. Kitts and Nevis and whatever. Many of you online viewers was commenting about whether or not he will take up the offer, and you hope that he take up the offer. And you guys heard the offer that I made to Brother Huey. I want him to go across to Nevis. I'll ensure that Brother Captain Mills, Vordell Hull of the Carib Express will transport him across to Nevis. And when he gets to Nevis, I will ensure that somebody pick him up at the pier and take him to the hospital to do his investigation on the hospital wing. And I want to make sure he gets across to Carbo's for a meal. And we will take care of that. And I know many of you online was in agreement. And many of you online will contribute to the expense once he took that offer. Well, this is what really happened since that conversation. Not only did Mr. Huey acknowledge the invitation here and the program, he responded to me via WhatsApp, informing me that he has a busy schedule, but he will make the time and go across there because he saw the need to go and look into this matter. Over the weekend, I think it was, he sent another message saying he's thinking about going over there this week. Well, yesterday afternoon, like I said, I received a WhatsApp from Brother Huey informing me that he wants to take the offer up and he wants to go to Nevis Tuesday morning, because that was the Premier's press conference for April, and he wanted to go early enough where he can take a look at the hospital wing before he go to the press conference. He would like to know what questions to ask, whatever. Now, once I got that message from Brother Huey on Monday evening, I generate a little message when I got home from the airport, because there's a couple of people in certain positions, supporters of the NRP, including the leader of the NRP, Sister Janice Daniel Hodge. So before I actually sent the message, I reached out to Janice Daniel Hodge, Dr. Janice, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, leader of the NRP, to let her know what I was gonna send. She explained to me at the time that she was about to go on a radio show and she'll be going down to St. Kitts today, Wednesday, but send it to the chat anyway, because I guess she expects someone to respond and deal with the matter. But I'm gonna give you guys what transpired and you tell me, how would you feel about this situation, you know? And the message I sent was, greetings all. I hope all is well with everyone. Just a quick update. I had Mr. Andrew Huey of SK Newsline on my Facebook Live broadcast recently. I challenged him that the journalists in the Federation needs to be more proactive in regards to what's happening on both islands and pay attention to the situations that are taking place on Nevis. He accepted my suggestion and he will be traveling across to Nevis for the Premier press conference tomorrow morning. He will be taking the Carib Express ferry, which departs St. Kitts at 7 a.m. Will any of you be available to get him from the pier? I want him to visit the ongoing work at the hospital. He needs to get a level of understanding what's taking place there so that he would know what questions to put to the Premier. I also want him to go by Cabo for a meal. Please confirm as soon as possible. He's waiting for me to let him know who will meet him at the pier, thanks. Now, this message was sent at 8:36 last night. Not only to Kensley Daniel, Patricia Bartlett, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. He was also sent to Carlisle Powell and Brother Kelvin Daly, two of the biggest noise makers who is talking about the Prime Minister need to come across to Nevis and do his job. I support them in that regard, and I still do. In spite of what I am saying now, it doesn't take away anything that I have said over the past weeks on this program. The Prime Minister needs to go across to Nevis and do what he needs to do. But when I didn't hear back from any of them, neither Carlisle Miller, Carlisle Powell, Daly, or anyone, I pick up the phone and I call Brother Hensley Daniel, who informed me that he was in St. Kitts at the moment, but he will get back to me later. To date, I still have not heard back from Hensley. I call Carlisle Powell, no response. Daly, no response. This morning at 7:09, I am receiving a message from Daly. Good morning. With earlier notice, I would have been able to assist. I already have a full day plan. My apologies. That is bull. Just as Carlisle and Powell are going to tell me that the Prime Minister with a busy schedule traveling across the globe trying to restore some help for St. Kitts Nevis, that is no excuse why he should not have been in Nevis already to meet the people. And I support them on that. In the same vein, with them making noise about the Prime Minister and what the Prime Minister shouldn't do, well, who did that? You cannot tell me after all of that noise, all of the campaign that we are speaking about the hospital wing and the journalists not doing their job, and this not doing their job, and that not doing their job. It is a damn right disgrace that neither of these individuals have the courtesy of picking up a phone last night and reach out to someone at Nevis. Reach out to anybody at Nevis that is a party supporter or a family member to go to the boat and pick up Mr. Huey. Because I put the time in. I put the work in to ensure that we have an investigative journalist who is capable of dealing with Baby Brantley at his press conference to go to Nevis yesterday morning. To ask the questions, to ask the hard questions. So rightfully so, when you all Nevision, whether online or on the ground in St. Kitts and Nevis, want to put pressure on politicians for not doing what they need to do. Univisions also have to get down on your party leaders, your supporters, people like Daly and Carlisle. They cannot tell me they were too busy with cricket or anything on the island that they couldn't pick up the phone and call somebody and assist getting Mr. Huey across to the hospital, to the press conference by Carbo. Carbo is a true patriot. Carbo is a true Nevision. Carbo is a true citizen of St. Kitts Nevis. And I found out by extension, not just Mr. Carbo, but there's another gentleman at Nevis that I met for the first time on Monday evening during this situation. I got a call back from Mr. Carbo. Mr. Carbo sent me a number for a gentleman. Gentleman by the name of Mr. Patterson. Never met in my life, never spoke to him in my life. But Carbo said the need to get Brother Andre Huey. So he sent me the number of Mr. Patterson Fleming, who called me right away. And we was able to confirm that Mr. Patterson Fleming will pick up Andre, which he did. You guys heard the link earlier, where Carbo, where Brother Andre Huey is thanking the gentleman for taking him around. So I want to big up Brother Carbo this evening. And I want to big up Brother Patterson Fleming for accommodating Andre and showing him the real Nevis spirit on Nevis on Tuesday. But I also want to go further by saying to the leader, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, if you got a team of people working around you that supposed to be working with you in the interest of the people of Nevis and the NRP. And this is what's going to happen. You need to change the people around you, Janice. They're not good for you. They're not good for Nevis, and they're not good for the party. And I will tell Daly and Carla straight to their face this. They could cuss me, they could whatever they want to do. I respect them, I love them, and I will continue to love them. But I will tell them, let them say, tell me. And on target, I'm telling you that what you guys did by not responding to my message, taking my phone call, and had Brother Andrew Huey stranded is done right, disrespectful. It was a kick in the butt, a kick in the gut, a kick in the face after all of my efforts to try and get that journalist across there to Nevis. So, as of this evening, I am still in support of Janice. I am still in support of what needs to get done for the people of Nevis. I am still convinced that the baby Brantley is not the person to lead Nevis at the moment. I am still convinced that NRP is the right party to lead Nevis. But you guys need to get your ass in gear. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your effort, roll up your sleeve and do the work. Don't expect things to change without you putting in the work. Don't just come on social media and radio station and just talk and complain. When the time comes for you all to put in the work, put it in. And I'm speaking directly to you, Daly and Carlisle. No disrespect. I'm speaking to you all with love, right? You all cannot come on a Thursday night and talk in the things, as good and as right as they may be. Come in on a Saturday and talk in the things. And when you had the opportunity to do the right thing, you have not done so. DJ Morrishaw don't work like that. DJ Morrishaw does not work like that. If Dr. Drew and the Labour administration does not do what I think is right, and I speak to them softly, and nothing changed, I'm gonna come at them the same way I'm coming at you guys now. And I'm coming at you all because you all come on social media and call out the PM. You all call out everybody that you think is not doing the right thing. So before you all start calling out people, you all do the right thing for Nevis. You all do the right thing. So I would leave it there for now. And I am capable of responding to anything all you got to say. Because I mean, I got nothing against you all. I still love you all. I still hold you all as friends. I still support Janice and the NRP. But this situation that transpired on Monday evening, Tuesday morning, what happened if there wasn't a carbo? Everybody call not available. Whoa, what happened if there wasn't a carbo? You know, this does not sit right. It doesn't look good. So I'm going to go into observation mode. I am here to listen and to send the message, but you all have to do the heavy lifting. I will help you lift, but you all have to show. I haven't the benefit out of Nevis. The only benefit I have is to see our people get what is due to them, our country move on. That is what I am here for. And if you are going to be coming on radio station and social media and know everything that needs to get done, I'm going to criticize what is happening, then do all your part. I am still expecting the Prime Minister to come across to Nevis. He said he's the Prime Minister for all and to give the people the opportunity. I'll be coming down to St. Kitts Nevis shortly in a couple of weeks in June. And I will speak with the Prime Minister. And if he's available, I will encourage him while I'm there to come across to Nevis and have that well-needed meeting. But I'm telling you guys, Janice Daniel Hodge, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, you need to get into gear and get whipping with the people that you have around you. I'm saying to Hensley Daniel, Patricia Bartlett, Carlisle Powell, Daly, if you all are serious about the things that you all are saying, you all have to change approach. I could manfully say, from the experience I had between Monday evening and Tuesday morning, it doesn't surprise me you all lost the election. You all had the elections in your all hand twice. You all had the elections in your all hand on December 12th, and you all showed the opportunity. You all had the opportunity to get it overturned in court, and again, the opportunity was thrown away. So here we are now. We are stuck with this guy for a short period because baby Berkeley cannot survive his full term. With all the shit that's going on in Nevis, he will not survive his full term. That I can assure you guys. But you all have to do your part. You cannot stand back. Don't do your part and expect things to change. You cannot do the same nonsense and expect a difference. And who don't like what I'm saying? Tough. It's very tough because I'm going to call it like I say it. So when you all get an higher program and I want to cuss this young man, me not a problem with it. Me not lose no weight over it. Me not lose no sleep over it. Brother Andre Huey assured me he's coming back across to Nevis because he was promised a tour by the health minister of the new wing. So he will be coming over there next week. And I would hope that you guys try and correct the mistake and embrace him because he's coming to do his duty as an investigative journalist. The government in power should be happy to have journalists as part of their friends because they will come to report the good that they're doing. Sometimes they report the bad. But you in the opposition, you need the journalists more than the person in power, you know. So you all have to treat the journalists them good. Encourage them to come to send you, deliver your message. This is why we're here. This is why Morrishaw is here. To deliver your message. And then, after you all come and talk about what the Prime Minister is doing and who this doing, and Baby Brantley taking picture with Cleon, and Baby Brantley coming to party and Nevis, and Baby Brantley hugging up the Prime Minister. Nonsense. Cut out them petty nonsense. Stop being so emotional and put your head on and keep your eyes on the prize. There's a problem with the opposition office in Nevis that needs to be dealt with. There's a problem with the project at the hospital wing that needs to be dealt with. Focus. Whatever going on at the airport, focus. There's a lot more things to focus on. You understand? There's a lot more things to focus on than your bullshit. So on that note, I will end my overtime program this evening by dropping the unofficial anthem of St. Kitts Nevis. Will you all really stand by and see Nevis dying, crying, and don't let a helping hand? Well, you all didn't do that on Monday evening, and you all didn't do it on Tuesday morning. So my question to you, Brother Carlisle and Brother Daly, will you continue to stand by and see Nevis dying and don't put your helping hand instead of just talking? Because we need more than talk. We want to see you guys. Big up to Carbo, big up to Mr. Patterson Fleming and everyone else that did their part to accommodate Andre Huey. And until such time, love
Would you stand up and see your country dying unification, building a brand new nation. We'll move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Would you assist building a wall so massive or a bridge? Don't care how small, as one tends to divide our people, the other unite us all. Unambitious men just cannot be a part of this community. Displaying selfishness, a total lack of interest. No, I said no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in this harmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother, cannot love each other. No, I say no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We'll move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
the King Arrow. This country is yours, all yours. I want to say good night to the man there, Brother Lincoln Hobson, aka DJ Rabuka. The man Curtis Cook, how are you doing? Good evening. The man Kelvin Chapman, good evening, Ira. Henry. I want to also touch Sister Ann Farrell Smith there, how are you doing? Sister Cora Bennett. Sister Tracy Powell, Tracy Jeffers, how are you doing? As we say, as usual in the business, every good thing have to come to an end. And for this evening, some 2 hours, 23 minutes overtime. That was not the plan for this evening, but it was very important, like I said, that I get in those guests to give their views this evening. And I could not leave here without giving that update and Brother Andre Huey. And I got to respect Andre, because not only he accepted the offer to go across to Nevis and do his investigation, he did it in quick time. And I want to thank again Brother Carbo and the man Patterson Fleming for accommodating his arrival in Nevis. And I want to big up again the Caribbean Express, the man Prince Mills, to take him across to Nevis. You know, I always said to people, you got to support businesses that support you. I would hear some people say, when I study Prince, Prince is a funny man. I have never had a problem with Prince. From the time he came there with the surf, the very first time, him and I got close. And that gentleman is very professional, very loyal to the people of St. Kitts Nevis. But some people maybe thinking that they could take advantage of him. And because he don't allow them to take advantage, just like they say about me, you're a bad guy. But big up to the brother Prince Mills, and condolences to your brother Mills and the passing of your mom. I don't think you sent me the information for the funeral. I don't know if the funeral will take place already, but I didn't even understand the message that you sent stating that your mom had passed away. And I want to also say, by extension, give condolences to Brother Elvan Ellie and his family and the passing of his brother there and Nevis. I know they should be putting some GoFundMe together to assist his mom in getting down to Nevis for the funeral. Let us start supporting our own, you know. This brother Elvan Ellie has been behind the scenes working for free and is broadcast weekly. Brother Elvan Ellie has been doing a great job behind the scene. My engineer Ike, the lead engineer, has been working, as you know, over 2 years now behind the scene. These guys are getting a salary because if the donation does not come in, I cannot give them anything. I am working for free as well. Alvin Brown, another hard worker behind the scenes. Brother Kenrick Williams there, St. Thomas. I have a whole bunch of folks, over 12, a team of 12 people that have been working with me behind the scene to keep this program afloat. So, you know, at the end of the day, we are not here to satisfy people's feelings and opinion of DJ Morrishaw. We're here to bring in the facts. And sometimes the facts hurts because people they want to call you out in public, tell you what you're not doing and how you should do things. And they themselves not doing the right thing. They're about themselves, just selfish. You know, I am never too busy. It doesn't matter what day or time of the night, my phone, I will answer it. And if I cannot get it done for St. Kitts Nevis, I'll find somebody to do it. You guys have to do the same thing, man. You cannot complain about something and when you got an opportunity to fix it, you drop the ball. I don't like to hear people criticizing. As the former commissioner, they say, don't use the word criticize, use feedback. But sometimes it's criticize, in my view. You talk about something that you think could be done differently. Come up with a positive idea for the change. You cannot just complain and can't be a part of the change. Otherwise, don't complain. If you're not in a position to try and make the change, then let somebody who can make the change do the talking. Otherwise, continue walking. So my good people, I just want to say, Gemini Miss Smith, good evening. How are you doing? Everything good with you? I want to big up again one more time, Sister Hazel Claxton, one of the hardest working division here in the Boogie, down Bronx. Don't forget, there's going to be that breakfast there, and it is the 17th of June for the Division for Nevis team. Let me find my information and make sure that I have the correct date for the Division for Nevis event. Also, don't forget, Brother Jordan will be having his birthday bash over there at Kenny's Garage on the 13th of, it looks like Gene took out his he have on his disappearing message. Well, Gene, your disappearing message gone out of what you sent me on my phone is gone, so I can't even advertise it. But I think there's a breakfast for the Division for Nevis coming up on the 17th of June, I think it's June 17th. But you folks that using these apps with your disappearing messages, when you send messages to me, I don't get to read them and they disappear. You cannot blame me, you know, because the message should stay until I'm ready to deal with it. So here's left you online. Put the information in the chat about the upcoming breakfast for Division for Nevis. And folks, I don't know if you all have heard that there's now a coalition government in Tortola. Election was on Monday. So things changed in Tortola. So, you know, that is, there is some events going to be taking place in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. If people don't give me the information officially to broadcast, I'm not broadcasting it. But I want to take the opportunity tonight to say hi to Dame Honorable Governor General Marcelo Liebert. Hope all is well with you. The man, the big JL. Enough respect. The man Rascal Mighty Monarch. The man EK. Everything good. The man Curtis Cook. GQ. Theo Clark, the man. The baby such how we doing? The man Ingle. I also want to big up my brother Gene Paris. How you doing, my brother? Hope all is well. The man Brown, Mechanic Brown. How you doing? The man Ivan Mulwayne. How you doing? Want to big up Twinkie over there in the St. Kitts area. Sister Catherine, Louise, and the man Sugars Craig. How you doing? Want to big up the man George Morris. I want to thank you, cuz, for your accommodation and entertainment while I was in St. Thomas. Sister Rhea, hope all is well with you there in the Dominica area. Want to big up Tony Davis, the man Vincent Davis, Brother Melvin Herbert, the man Cardin Walters, the man Jimmy. Again, folks, anyone out there who wishes to play cricket with DJ Morrishaw Sports Club this year, feel free to reach out to me. The season starts on May 7th from Courtland Park. We are still taking applications for players. In the meantime and between time, I just want to say to you folks, look forward to seeing you next week, same place, same time. I want to big up my boy, brother Chilston Francis. How are you doing, my brother? All is well? Okay, all right. Thanks for the stuff there. Yeah, it's June 17th. I had the correct information. June 17th, the Divisions for Nevis annual breakfast. Gonna be over there at the St. Andrew's Church, 781 Castle Hill Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10473. And it starts at 8 a.m. That's Saturday, June 17th, 2023. Go out and support the Division for Nevis crew. Remember that Division for Nevis, they continue to do many things, not just for Nevis, for St. Kitts as well. And I want to big up my boy Chillstone. Thank you, my brother, for sending me that information. We got to keep supporting businesses that support you. These folks have done so much for Nevis and not been recognized. I want to thank the man there, President Gene Sider, for his continued support. I look forward to coming back next Wednesday with some more positive news out of St. Kitts Nevis and more so Nevis, because I want to see the people of Nevis get what is due to them. You understand? So folks, if you all can afford it, the information is right there on top. Send a little donation that I can give something to the engineers, and I want to be able to pay the bill for Carib Express for taking Brother Andre across, and I want to be able to send a little money for Cabo to pick up the tab that I have there for what was done with Brother Andre Huey. We cannot just come weekly and listen to the broadcast and think we're going to be there all the time. You have to try and help keeping it alive. And I have asked you folks, please go onto YouTube, type in DJ Morrishaw, subscribe, and hit that bell. One day you're going to come here on Facebook, we're not going to be here. We're going to be on YouTube, and you will not get the notification. So once you go on YouTube, type in DJ Morrishaw, hit the subscribe button, smash that bell, and whenever we go live or any features, you will be notified. Following this program, my engineer will transfer this program over to YouTube. So it will be the ending not to this distant future this evening, but we don't want to keep doing this. We want to go directly to YouTube. Yes, I have Cash App. Cash App is the same phone number that I have, Celine. The same phone number that you have. Cash App is there. Cash App, ZELLE, Venmo, PayPal, we got everything. So feel free to look at the information on the top there and make your contribution. We got to do our part to make the change and the improvement for the people of Nevis. But we cannot be out here fighting a war while the people of Nevis sitting back and not doing their part. And I cannot say it enough. Thanks to Brother Cabo for stepping up to the plate, and Brother Fleming for transporting Huey. And I also want to thank my brother Prince Mills and the Caribbean Express. Support businesses that support you. Until such time, big up to the man, Lord Kent and Sister Debbie, how you doing? Sister Gwyneth Morrishaw, how you doing? My sister Esther the Intatola, Mokish and the kids. I want to say good night to Sister Brenda the Intatola. Hope all is well with you and your family. And again, my cousin Kent Benier and Pamela Benier, my uncle Eustace in St. Croix, the mighty Pat, the man Jerome Vanterpool across in the UK. I want to big up everyone. Until such time,